Good evening and welcome to Talk of the Neighborhoods. I'm Joe Heisler, your host, coming to you from the BNN Live studios, Eggleston Square, Jamaica Plain, where tonight on the Boston Neighborhood Network, well, we continue our coverage of election 2013 with two more candidates in this fall's election. First up tonight, one of the major contenders in the growing field, well, slightly shrinking, but it's still a large field seeking to replace Mayor Tom Menino. He, for several years now, has represented District 8 on the Boston City Council, giving up his seat to make a run at the mayor's chair. Michael Ross joins us. Then in the second half, we'll take a look at the Boston City Council race. A huge field has signed up to run for 4 at-large seats, and of course there's district seats at play as well. Tonight, Cathrine O'Neill, a first-time candidate, joins us to talk about her plans to run at-large. All that and more tonight on Talk of the Neighborhood. All right, we're back with Talk of the Neighborhoods. Tonight, a two-part show, all politics, as is our usual want, and starting off first with the mayor's race. We've been profiling some of the candidates that have filed to run, and it's a big field. They're still certifying signatures to finalize it, but tonight, one of the major contenders, he's getting a lot of play in the media. He is, of course, the sitting District 8 Boston City Councilor from representing Beacon Hill, Back Bay, Fenway, Mission Hill. Made his mark as a good government lawmaker and now seeking to step up to the mayor's chair. You know him, of course. It's Michael Ross. And Michael, nice to have you here. Thanks so much for coming in and joining us.
Good to be back. Yeah, great to be back.
As always, you know, I was reminded when I was riding here tonight, thinking about when you first ran for the District 8 seat, then. You know, I think it would be fair to say as somewhat of a political unknown, but came out and won that seat. Way back then, did you ever allow yourself to think about, geez, you know, maybe someday I could be mayor, I could be the guy calling the shots, or is that...
You know, I think you focus on what's in front of you. I mean, I've tried to do a good job for my constituents and for the city that I love. And you know, no, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about how do I improve the communities I represent. You know, I represent Back Bay, Beacon Hill, Fenway, Mission Hill, and how do I improve the quality of life for the people in those communities and also outside of those communities through good legislation and policy. You look at some of the communities that I represent. I mean, Fenway, when I was first elected, was a street that had gas station and fast food and surface parking lots, and today, it's a diverse, mixed-use development. So affordable housing, market housing, thriving area. Fenway Community Health Center, which is a beacon to the LGBT community locally, but also nationally. It's just, you know, by any measure, a great neighborhood. Mission Hill, where I live, probably a little bit more gentrified, something that we're working still towards to try to make that less so if Northeastern builds a little more housing, but still, a radically different neighborhood in terms of really where we came from. And it's a place where people want to move to, want to visit, want to go to. It has a great supermarket, it has some great restaurants. To me, the next 10, 12, 18, 20 years, to me, the next frontier for our city is how do we take the neighborhoods that aren't quite where they want to be and build them up to be as great as any neighborhood in our city through education, yes, but also through building out the physical plant, not by gentrifying, but by building from within, creating the types of amenities that people look for in a neighborhood, in a community. And that is something that's achievable. That's something I've done. And that's something that I believe we can do in this city.
Well, and you've worked so hard at it, and I want to just focus just for a little bit more on what you did in your district and citywide. You know, as a leader of the Boston City Council, as the past president of it, but you gave that up. Yeah. You're willing to kind of give that up. I think everybody believes you'll be a strong candidate for mayor, but there's a number of strong candidates for mayor. You give all that up for a chance to run for mayor. What drove you to that decision?
Well, listen, I mean, we're going to work hard, but we're also going to work smart. And the decision actually was somewhat easy. It seemed like the right time in my career, and it seemed like the right time in the life cycle of our city. I felt like the skill set that I had matched with what we need to do in our city, and the things and the experiences that I bring to the table will resonate with this city. So, for example, with schools, half of my district is the downtown neighborhoods. There were a group of parents who didn't have a school in their neighborhood, and they said, "Hey, listen, we live in Boston. We'd like a public school too." And we worked together, and this year we announced the opening of the first downtown elementary school since the Carter administration. And that's going to allow so many more families to stay in the city. But then there's another story, and that's the schools that parents don't want to go to. And we have to find a way to make those schools better. And I've been improving the schools in my district as well. The Tobin Elementary School used to never have physical education, and other schools as well, and now they do. What I believe that the schools that are still clawing back and really improving every day, what we need to do there is we need to extend the day. We failed to extend the day. We, when I say we, I mean all of us. The union,
it was on the table. What happened?
It didn't get done. It didn't get done.
The school department dropped the ball? Who dropped the ball on that?
I wasn't in the room, but I'll tell you this. As mayor of the city, we will have an extended day. And in that time, I'm not looking just to add 15 minutes to the end of every class. I'm looking to add music, art, gym. That's how we're going to extend the day. And we're going to work with the union, and we're going to get a deal done. It's not as hard as people are saying. That will be important. And we're going to need to have the right superintendent. To me, that means we need to wait until the mayor is elected. I hope it's me, but whoever the mayor is, I believe we have to wait.
You don't want them to go ahead and hire a new superintendent now?
No.
Because they're talking about doing that.
I understand. I think that would be a mistake. If we want the very best superintendent in the country to come to Boston, we're going to have to wait so that that superintendent knows who their boss is going to be. Because who in their right mind would apply for a job when they don't know who they're reporting to? That's the challenge. And so, any move we make, can we wait 4.5 months, 5 months? John McDonough's in place there. He has the trust of
the acting,
the interim, the mayor. Tom Payzant likes him. He's fine. Let's make sure that we do this right. We have one opportunity to bring in a new superintendent to continue to progress and change the future of our schools.
Now, you weren't always happy with Dr. Carol Johnson, the superintendent, and you crossed swords a bit with her, especially over moving especially a school in Mission Hill, moving it here to Jamaica Plain. Various candidates have been talking about making changes, but what would you do? Would you shake up the system, or is it on the right course? We just need to continue down this path, or?
Well, I think extending the school day by 2 hours is a significant shake of the system, but it's something that needs to happen, and it's something that we can't accept failure on at all, and not again. I think standing up for what you believe in, especially when it's tough, is something that will distinguish me from perhaps other candidates. I've done it throughout my career, not just on education. I did it with the firefighter contract, a very bitter dispute that occurred where, our city was at a real challenge where we were closing, we were talking about closing libraries and laying off workers, and there was this challenge in front of us about potentially trying to fund a very expensive contract. I brought up my colleagues together, and we found a way to save $50 million. There are 4 people in this race who all took a different position on that. In the end, I think I got it right, and I hope the voters take a look at that. But standing up for what you believe in, whether it's saving Fenway Park, whether it's standing up for the EMTs when they weren't getting coverage, when they were injured on the work, whether it was the firefighter thing I just told you about, whether it was building a downtown school for parents when the school department said we couldn't, standing up for what you believe in is really what this job is about.
Well, but as well, from having it seen, and again, the city council isn't negotiating these contracts, but how tough it can be to negotiate these contracts. A perfect example now, the decision of the fire chief to resign, and of course a lot of people see that as there's union politics behind that. Are you ready? Are you willing Are you capable of taking on the unions? You know how potent a political force they are in this city.
For me, the words taking on the union are just charged. It's about sitting down with people who are like-minded, they love this city too, and finding out how we find that common ground. It's pushing back real hard when you need to. I've demonstrated that with the firefighters union around saving $50 million for the public. But it's also about getting to yes and working with each other. I've already sat down with the firefighters chiefs who've raised that complaint, and I've already moved forward to have a city council hearing. I'm not afraid to take on tough issues, but what I'd like more than taking on tough issues is moving the city forward, and that we will get to by collaborating, by working together, by bringing people together, and also by taking ideas outside of city government. You know, I don't believe that the smartest people surround me or in my office or on the 5th floor. I believe the best ideas are outside city government, and that if we work with people, if we collaborate with people, we can bring those ideas in. We did it with so many different things. We did it with food trucks, right, which we now have in our city. Excuse me. We did it with, you know, bringing new kind of eateries on the Boston Common. We did it with getting advice from labor professors when we were, you know, working with the unions and trying to figure those challenges out. I've done it consistently throughout my career, reaching out to people outside of government, outside of City Hall, to say, how can you help us make a stronger city? I believe that the future of our city is really a broad view of the world. You know, for me, you know, there's a lot we're going to need to focus on. We're going to have to build this city. We're going to have to make business easier to do in the city. If you're a small business.
Well, and that raises an interesting point. I don't mean to cut you off because, I want to talk about the campaign a little bit, because you have voiced, well, at least some different thoughts about how best to proceed, and some of that may be different than what Mayor Menino is doing or proposing or has done. Is there a risk in that for you? In the paper recently, they suggested that you and another council were being critical of the mayor. I don't know if I don't know if I'd go that far.
Listen,
but,
being critical. Look, there's no shame in being critical. There's no shame in disagreeing from time to time. But first of all, I think the Herald was being the Herald a little bit.
Yes.
All right. So they were doing that. That's fine. That's fine.
Worked for them.
People ask me about what will I do different than the mayor. Okay. The first answer to that question is that in the last 20 years, this city has been immeasurably improved. In almost any possible way to measure this city, this is a better city than it was 20 years ago. All right, so I give Tom Menino tremendous credit. But I will do things differently. I think, for one thing, when it comes to small businesses, there is a yogurt store on Newberry Street that took 1 year to open. 1 year. If we can't open your business in 30 days, we should give you your money back. Because I believe that we should want your small business to open as badly as you do. We should want the tax revenue, the jobs, and the amenities that come with that. You know, a lot of my colleagues, they say—
So what, you'd streamline that permitting process?
You remake that permitting process. A lot of my colleagues, you know, they write down, they say, I helped open 25 businesses this year. To me, that's the wrong measurement. It should be, how many businesses never had to call me in the first place because the system works to begin with? How many businesses didn't have to call their politician because it actually worked in the first place? I mean, to me, that would allow us to work on the things that are really important, like extending the school day, like reaching out to, you know, nearby neighbors like Cambridge and bringing business into our region, like direct flights for more. I mean, it'll allow us to work, like solving the problems of youth violence in our neighborhoods. These are complex issues.
Well, what's been going on? Is it gummed up by, you know, deliberately, or is it just the nature of the beast? And would that mean changing the BRA? You know, there's been a lot of criticism over the years, and you've heard a lot of it, and it seems to be, the issue seems to be being raised again. Would you change the BRA? Would you split the planning and
Here's what I would do.
Redevelopment process?
In order of importance, I would bring planning first. Plan before you build, like we did in the Fenway. We planned first, we built, and then Samuels and Abbey Group and other developers came in and built. It was predictable, it was understandable. The pipeline almost went away, and it was an opportunity for people just to come in and build, and it went up fast, but it also went up the right way, and we kept people there, and we kept affordable housing. I would do that. I would take affordable housing out of the BRA. I think that it's somewhat opaque in the BRA, and it should be removed and put into the Department of Neighborhood Development so that we know if a developer is going to buy out and not put affordable units on site, that we know where that money is going to go. You know, affordable and working class housing, that's a principle. That's a principle we hold that we can't negotiate away. And when it's in the BRA, I think that people don't get to see exactly what happens with it. I'd move that to the Department of Neighborhood Development. And as I mentioned, I would ask my BRA to have a broader international view. I would want to bring business from across the world to Boston. I would want businesses from China to open up in Boston. That's the new global marketplace, and that's what I would focus my BRA on.
Even though they've had some success, I think it's fair to say.
I am not being critical of the great success we've had with Vertex and bringing businesses and opening up this is all about, you're asking me what am I going to do moving forward, and that's how I'll approach our problem solving.
Well, and I want to, we've got just a few minutes left, and I want to ask you about the campaign in particular. And again, for those who just joining us, talking with City Councilor Michael Ross, hoping to become Mayor Michael Ross. You approached this campaign a little different. You started out different. Yeah. You instead of you know, the traditional big gathering, you announced your campaign online.
Twitter.
And Twitter,
yeah.
And but you know, electronically. And
sure.
Why is that? Do you see this campaign developing differently than campaigns of the past?
Yeah, I've approached problem solving different throughout my career, but effectively, I have a wake of results that I'm very proud of, and communities that have been immeasurably improved that I'm very proud of, working with my colleagues, working with the mayor. But yeah, this is a little different campaign, the campaign that I'm running. If people go to...
Could be a dozen candidates.
There will be, and you need to stand out. If people go to Mike for Boston, I think they'll see that we're a different campaign. Our announcement this Wednesday, our kickoff this Wednesday, will be different. People should watch for a slightly different type of campaign kickoff. I think people are used to seeing the traditional type. We will not be a traditional administration. My administration will look in every corner of the world to find the very greatest ideas and the very best people, as well as here in Boston as well, to find the people who are most committed and dedicated to the city to move our city forward. And it's going to be a different type of administration, but it's going to be focused on the things that matter most to people, improving their communities, improving public education, making people have better access to jobs and opportunities and training, and equality at all levels, certainly equality, LGBT community equality, but equality in that one neighborhood can't be without the types of jobs and resources and opportunities that another neighborhood is.
But are you trying to break the campaign mold here? You know, traditionally, most people would say, well, you need a base plus, crossover appeal. Give us your calculus here. What's Michael Ross's base, and how do you get into the final? How do you grow that?
Sure. Look, every election that we've seen in these, including the most recent election for the state Senate seat in South Boston, every election that we've seen in the last 3, 4, 5 years in Boston have been change elections, okay? And what I think you're seeing in Boston and other places are, at least it's always about the field. There are good people running for this field.
The 3 of your colleagues.
Yeah, great people.
Yep.
I think they're coming out of...
Does that make you a little uncomfortable incidentally?
No, we're all like best friends who see each other. Look, I'm not a pundit, but I get a sense that our campaign will be different, and we will stand out. I have a base of the district that I've represented.
Right.
You add to that some of the newer people that have come to the city, but also some of the people that my father, Steve Ross, ran into many, many years ago, who are calling me up and saying, Mike, your father made me love America. My dad's a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah.
You've heard the story before.
I have.
He made me love America. He made me believe in myself. There are hundreds of people like me, and we're going to get involved in your campaign. Those are some of the most traditional neighborhood people in the city who are coming out to support us. And then you have people who've just moved here in the last couple of years, just moved here in the last 5 years, just moved here in the last 10 years. I think that my message also appeals to that group. And you have the LGBT community, which is a community that I hold near and dear. My mother is gay. She's an openly gay 71-year-old woman. So I grew up in an LGBT household. This is a community that's very important to me. Communities of color. My office has always been represented by people who look like this city. My campaign is represented by people who look like this city.
Well,
and my administration will be represented the same.
If you were elected, of course, you'd make some history as well. You would be the first Jewish mayor.
That's true also,
does that, and you talked about your father, because his story is just so, heart-wrenching and poignant, and we've talked about it before here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, look,
how has that? Did that help to motivate you? And
the story of Boston is the story of immigrants. I'm a first-generation American, and for me, the struggle that my father went through is the story of immigrants. The American dream that he achieved is the goal for all of our citizens, whether they're from here or whether they moved here from as new Bostonians. So my heritage has been informed to make me a better leader for all people and for immigrant communities. Because it's part of who I am. It's part of who all of us are, especially here in Boston. This is the great melting pot. This is the great American dream city of America. This is where it all began. And I just think that we have a huge opportunity to move the city forward.
Well, I want to wish you the best of luck, and I want to thank you so much for coming in and joining us tonight. Again, Boston City Councilor Michael Ross, hoping to become Mayor of the City of Boston, running hard. Your announcement Wednesday, and where's that at, or how?
So it's a series of announcements, and I want you to watch closely because it's going to be exciting.
Okay, but go to you can find out more.
MikeForBoston.com.
MikeForBoston.com, and again, Michael, thanks so much for coming in and joining us tonight. And best of luck to you, and we hope you'll come back before the election, and
so
maybe
too.
in the fall you'll be here as well, and
love to.
Perhaps after that. Again, you're watching Talk of the Neighborhoods here on the Boston Neighborhood Network. Tonight, we continue our election 2013 coverage. What a year it's been. Of course, in a couple of weeks, the special U.S. Senate final election will be here. And it seems like all year long, we've been covering elections as we like to do here. And of course, nothing better than this fall's municipal elections. The mayor's race has drawn a crowded field, perhaps even more crowded, the at-large race. Close to 20 candidates pulled papers to run. They're still counting all the signatures to determine the final number, and of course in the some of the district races as well, a large number of candidates. I'm pleased to have joining me now former colleague of mine. She is talked about running before, and she's finally made the leap. First-time candidate. She's well known, especially in Dorchester, where for many years she wrote a column, also hosted a show. You know her, Cathrine O'Neill, and she's running at large for the Boston City Council. Nice to have you here, dear.
Well, I am delighted to be back at BNN, Joe. Just delighted.
Yeah, you probably weren't thinking quite in this way, but. Well, we're pleased to have you here. And now tell us, you've, of course, worked on campaigns, you've covered politicians, interviewed everyone over the course of your career here at BNN, and also as a reporter. What made you jump in this time? What made you decide to actually get into the race and put the other shoe on, so to speak?
Well, this race was particularly attractive to me because there are 2 open seats. And it wouldn't be a race that I would be running against anybody. It could be, and I intend to make it, a very positive campaign and effort. So that's one of the reasons I was attracted to it. And as you know, Joe, we've been friends for a long time. I have always admired the Boston City Council. I have never been somebody that thinks that they're an ineffective body. I realize that the Boston City Council can affect the residents of the city of Boston. They're like the first line of defense. And that's why I decided to run at this particular time. And the timing was good. And politics is all about timing, as you know. So
and
it was
luck.
And luck. And so it was a good time. And that's what made me think about doing it.
Are you feeling lucky as well?
Well, you know, there is no substitute for hard work. If you work hard, you might get a little lucky, and I intend to work very, very hard.
Well, and again, I don't think they've finalized all of it, but you know, it's quite a process, and for people that don't know, first of all, you have to go out and collect 1,500 signatures, I believe it is, and from all over the city, and how did you manage to do that? Because you got in late. That had to be a challenge to pull that all together very quickly?
Well, I did get in late. In fact, I think I was the last one in the door. What happened was, over the last 4 months, I've been very involved in the special election for the 1st Suffolk Senate District, Jack Hart's old seat. So I was working a campaign schedule, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. And as the deadline grew closer and closer, I knew that I really wasn't in a position to make a well-informed decision. And the day of the deadline, it was a Tuesday, I believe, or a Monday, I was sitting in my office, and I knew that if 5 o'clock passed that night, that I would never be able to look at this opportunity again. Yeah. So with the coaching of some of the folks that are in this studio tonight, not your sister or your mother, but with the coaching of some folks, I suddenly was at the election department telling people who were not related to me or who didn't love me that, yes, this is exactly what I intended to do.
And what I always wanted to do.
What I always wanted to do. So let's do it. So the total fright when I did that was just crazy. So then 2 days later, we have to go out. And when I say we, I mean, being a first-time candidate, you don't have staff and you don't have an army. What you do have is a lot of reluctant siblings, whom I love very much, and friends. And the process, we only had 4 days to collect 1,500 signatures. And that's the same thing as 1 million.
Might as well be.
You know, it was. It felt like 1 million. And what I learned a lot of things in those 4 days. And one of the things that was not kind of surprising, but I made the ballot. I found out on Friday that I did qualify and make the ballot, but I hope that's the last time I ever use the word I, because it's not just my name on that ballot. It is the 13 and 14 people that walked with me through those 4 days. Like, really? In the 2,300, oh my God, the 2,300 odd people that signed. And I will never, never forget their generosity. I really won't. It was just quite an experience for me. And it actually, talking to those 2,300 people, I mean, I loved it. I forgot about how important.
You forgot how much you liked it.
That's right. It was like, wow, this is, wherever it takes me, this is going to be fun.
Well, now you got to run a campaign, and are you prepared for that? You're running citywide. It takes lots of times a citywide organization. Well, it's a nice thought at least, but running, crisscrossing the city, raising money. Are you prepared for all of that?
Well, when I think about the city of Boston, I was born and raised here. I haven't left here. My family is from here. I have 8 siblings who have spent their lives working as teachers, Boston police officers. I have like 40 nieces and nephews. When I was in West Roxbury, if some people didn't know me at Roach Brothers, they knew my brothers, they knew my sisters. So I was lifted a little. I have to go out to all of those neighborhoods and find people that will help me. And if you're out there, and if you're in a neighborhood in the city of Boston, and you want to get on the ground floor of a campaign, give me a call. But you know, we're all in this together. And going out to East Boston or Charlestown or the North End, I'm actually looking forward to it.
Well, of course, the top 4, the way the system works for those that don't, of course, in the preliminary, the top 8 finishers go on to the final election in November. How does Cathrine O'Neill get in that top 8, and then how does she go beyond to the top 4? What's your strategy? What's the key to that?
Okay, I think that this is a different kind of race than people are used to in the city of Boston.
How so?
And that's one of the reasons I'm attracted to it. I'm in it. Not attracted to it, now I'm in it. This is my first official day as a candidate, by the way. I got qualified on
what
Friday.
Better place to come,
I'm
right?
telling you, it couldn't have worked out. The universe is with me. Okay, so this race, I believe, is different. Think about you're at home and you're a super voter. And super voters, in political jargon, are people that vote every election. So in the pool of people that you want to speak to are those super voters, right? But this time, you're not the only one that wants to talk to those super voters. There are 20 people at large that wants to talk to them, and there are 11 mayoral candidates that want to talk to them. So the competition to get to that top of that heap is going to be fierce. So I think that there are going to be new creative ways of getting to those voters. And that's what I'm going to look for. And yes, you need money. And I'm, you know, beginning to fundraise tomorrow. I understand that. But I think this is a race that the most money is not necessarily going to win. I think this is a race based on relationships and hand-to-hand, not combat, but for lack of a better word. But I think that is how you get to the top 8. I'm taking this.
What advantages do you have?
Well, I'm old. I know a lot of people. No. The advantages I have is...
You're not
right.
supposed to say that.
Well, it's okay. The advantages I have is that I've been in this city working with people my whole life. I was in the Menino administration as the neighborhood liaison to Dorchester. I have done a lot of the duties and responsibilities that people in the Boston City Council carry out. That's when I became attracted to the Boston City Council, when I worked on behalf of Mayor Menino with the city councilors. And I saw every day what good work that they did. In fact, on this set, I interviewed Boston City councilors one after the other. Right. I have in my phone programmed ICE because of Rob Consalvo. He started that in the whole city of Boston. Emergency contact numbers. I mean, Boston City councilors affect residents in the city of Boston in very positive ways.
So what will you emphasize in your campaign? What will be your key issues?
Okay, well...
How will you differentiate yourself from the other candidates?
What I would like to focus on as a candidate, I think that my mother is 93 years old, and my mother is in a wonderful position as a 93-year-old woman. She has sons and daughters and countless grandchildren. My mother doesn't have to call up the ride when she needs a lift. My mother doesn't have to take a deep breath when she has to get a birth certificate at Boston City Hall. She can afford these things. But as our population ages, because, I mean, really, let's be realistic. We are all, not only are we aging, but we're still working when we're aging. So there are new ways that we have to look at. Like, for instance, my mother, she's 93 years old. We have an issue making sure that she's safe and secure. But she's lucky. But there are residents in the city of Boston that don't have the advocates my mother has. And I would like to make sure, and because when an elderly person, I worked at Kit Clark Senior Center for 6 months, administering a grant for the Obama administration, and I got to work with a lot of seniors, and when they ask for something, it kills them. It takes away their pride. And I understand that keenly now because my mother is 93. So I would really like to focus on ways to help our senior population deal with the new issues that are arising for them.
Around safety, around health, around what? Around
everything. Around everything. Now, an elderly person, like when I take my mother out shopping, you don't go as fast as a 45-year-old people. Like, oftentimes she gets run over by people's grocery carts. And if I wasn't there, or one of my sisters or brothers weren't there, she would be in a very dangerous situation. She couldn't go on the MBTA. Like, what if she didn't have anybody? So that's one area I'd like to focus on, ways to create solutions. for elderly residents. I have a niece, Kate O'Neill. She's a spokeswoman for Facebook. She lives in Palo Alto, California. Kate O'Neill should not be living in California. We need to, as a city, find a way to attract all of those new industries back to Boston. We educate them, we dump their garbage, we make them.
But isn't that what Mayor Menino is doing? I mean, and what they're trying to start out the innovation district and draw companies in?
Absolutely, but we could be doing it better, and I'd like to be there, helping that along. Absolutely, the Menino administration, listen, when Mayor Menino started in 1993, if the only thing that Mayor Menino did was relax the rent control ordinance, he would have a legacy to rest his entire administration on.
What do you mean?
When Mayor Menino took office, the rent control ordinance was part of the reason that our city was declining. Landlords were not, they didn't have not the profit, but they didn't have reasons to fix up their property.
They weren't investing in it.
Right. And if that's the only thing the Menino administration did for the city of Boston, that would be a legacy to hang his hat on. But that's not the only thing he did. We are ready for the next phase. He has positioned this city, and I think that...
And how will the Boston City Council do that? Being that you know so much about how government works here, you also know that the Boston City Council, vis-a-vis the mayor, doesn't have that much power. Most of the power is vested in the mayor.
Well, see, that's where I would disagree with you. And I've always, not disagree with you, but
you can.
I think the Boston City Council does have a lot of power. I think it has a bully pulpit. And I think that perhaps it hasn't been exercised as well as it could be. And that's one of the reasons that I would like to be a Boston City Councilor, because I wouldn't be afraid to...
You wouldn't be afraid to lock horns with the mayor?
Whoever the mayor is, no. I wouldn't. On behalf of the residents of the city of Boston, absolutely not. I would look at that, actually, as my prime responsibility, to create a place with an open door, no matter who anybody supported.
Has the city's political culture, because you also covered it for many years, declined? Is there not as much interest in the kinds of work that councilors do, that state reps, state senators do, and you just got done with the campaign? Can you draw those people back in and kind of energize them?
Well, I think if you look at, and I have the list with me, if you look at the people that are running for Boston City Council and running for mayor, I think I always watch what people do and I don't listen to what they say. And so if you look at that, the interest is unbelievable. This is unprecedented interest. So is there a voter fatigue? We've had 10 million special elections.
Right.
10 million. But there's a sea change coming. So I don't think people are not interested at all. I think that they're very interested.
Now, given you were the Queen of Dorchester, if that's even enough to, it's a compliment, of course. Does that give you an advantage in this race? I'm kind of curious, all that work that you've done in the media, especially, and writing the column and so forth. And now I should mention she's an accomplished playwright as well. I didn't say that at the top of the program, and I do want to give you
thank you, Joe,
all the credit for that. Does that give you an advantage in this race? Because there is so many candidates running, and so a lot of it may be visibility, name visibility, and past record of...
Well, that's what my father, God rest his soul, and happy Father's Day to everybody out there this Sunday. My father left me with a grand name. He certainly did, and that's not going to hurt me in this election. Being from Dorchester, I have always felt that being from Dorchester, Massachusetts was an advantage to me, no matter what arena I was in. So I hope that I hope there is an advantage.
And you grew up in Lower Mills?
I grew up in Lower Mills, and I now live in Savin Hill.
So you got the whole area covered. We've got just a minute or two left, and I want to ask you about how do you feel though about this? I mean, this is a big move for you. You know, you like I said, have been involved on the campaigns and media and all of this. How does it feel now to actually be the candidate? Are you comfortable with it? You got a comfort zone yet with it?
I usually judge my nervousness by the saliva in my mouth. And right now I don't have any saliva in my mouth. It's...
You are too much.
It's very different. It's totally different. And you know what? What separates me from these wonderful candidates? I am so pleased to be on the ballot with all of those people. It's an honor and a privilege given to me by the 14 people that helped me get signatures. I will never, never forget it. I will work until the closing bell to talk to as many voters in the city of Boston as I possibly can. I am going to, my 93-year-old mother told me to do, just do the best you can. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, and I have a funny feeling you're going to do well, and we wish you well. You know that. You're an old friend.
Thank you, Joe.
And we wish you only the best. Again, Cathrine O'Neill, running at large for the Boston City Council. She and nearly a couple of dozen others, but I have a feeling you'll see a lot of her in the weeks and months to come. And again, we want to wish you the best of luck. And I also want to give a shout out. We've had a live audience tonight, a very special live audience for me. Joining me in studio, my mother Donna, my sister Pam, here visiting from South Dakota. I'm so happy that they were able to join us as well as our guest, Cathrine O'Neill and Michael Ross earlier. We're almost out of time. We're here tonight and every Monday night at the same time. Until next week, for the entire staff and crew here at BNN, I want to thank you for watching Talking the Neighborhoods. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.